What's up, guys? The Grizzly Bear here. Today I'd like to talk to you guys about climate change because there's still a segment of our population, that basically they don't believe that the climate is changing, or they don't believe that climate change is the causes of climate change are man-made. So they think that there's nothing that we can do about it or should do about it. And that this is a problem, because climate change is a big risk. It can be very devastating to the planet, to us, which makes it something that we should do something about. It's surprising if you were to just come from another planet or something, and you took a look at a lot of the measures. If you just took a look at all the measures that countries around the world, particularly the United States and other superpowers, have done to sort of make this less of an issue, or not an issue at all, then you would be surprised, because there's nothing really stopping this. We have a lot of the same things contributing at a higher rate now, more than ever. So basically, this is what I wanted to talk about in this video. So first off, what is climate change? Basically, it is the global temperatures worldwide on average are rising from pretty much year to year, and this is causing a lot of different effects. So I mean, we need to, we basically need to do something about it. 97% of climate scientists agree, and a lot of scientific agencies worldwide agree that humans are causing climate change. So first, I'll just give you guys some facts, basically talking about it. I wrote them down, so excuse me for a second. But global sea levels have risen 17 centimeters in the 20th century alone. And from 2000 to 2010, the rate has nearly doubled. The rate of sea level rise has nearly doubled. Global surface temperatures have risen since 1880, with much of the warming occurring during and after the 1970s. The 20 warmest years on record have occurred since 1981. 10 of the warmest years occurred in the past 12 years. So there's definitely a trend here. Surface temperatures continue to rise despite a decline in solar output of the last decade. So if we just look at the surface temperatures of the planet, we definitely see a trend here since 1880, which the Industrial Revolution began in that century, just a little while before that. Coincidence? Maybe. Let me read the rest of the facts. Since 1969, the top 700 meters, or about 2,300 feet, of the ocean have warmed a little over 0.3 of a degree Fahrenheit. That's pretty problematic for the marine wildlife down there. Greenland lost 150 to 250 cubic kilometers, or about 36 to 60 cubic miles of ice per year from 2002 to 2006. Antarctica lost about 150 kilometers cubed, or about 36 miles cubed of ice between 2002 and 2005. So as you can see, both polar regions are losing a lot of their ice. Okay, so this is contributing to the sea level rise, and at least the other issues as well. The number of record high temperature events in the United States, so this one hits home, has been increasing since 1950, and the number of record lows have been decreasing. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, Acidity of surface ocean waters has increased about 30%. 30, we're talking 30%. I mean, I know, we're talking about, the Industrial Revolution about 150 years ago, but I mean, 30%, that's drastic. As the atmosphere absorbs more carbon dioxide, the ocean absorbs it from the atmosphere, increasing, and it increases by about 2 billion tons per year. And satellite observations reveal that spring snow cover in the northern hemisphere has decreased over the past 5 decades, and that the snow is melting earlier. So with all this evidence coming from different fields of, you have some from the oceans, some from ice caps, you have the meteorology with the temperature. We have a clear picture, and there's actually more evidence than this. These are some of the things that I found most interesting, more striking. We have evidence that there's definitely some change going on, and they've shown a link to, scientists have shown a link to the things that we do, and most of it comes from fossil fuel, like the burning of fossil fuels. And this is key because our civilizations, just as a species right now, depend on the power of fossil fuels. Now, scientists have been warning us about, it was global warming back then, but warning us about climate change for quite some time now. And you look and you say, well, why hasn't anything been done with it? The science is clearly there, the evidence is there, the proof is in the pudding. We have all kinds of numbers and statistical data to back up this position. And the biggest obstacle is basically money. And I say money in general terms because there's different ways, there's different sides of money that make this difficult. First, it costs a lot of money to change the infrastructure of a country, and that has been, something that countries have hesitated on, particularly the United States. Our infrastructure here is crumbling and deteriorating, and I think Obama has done, he scratched the surface in cleaning it up a little bit. Definitely, I don't think it's gotten worse under Obama, for sure, but there's more work that needs to be done. Also, the research and development that goes into finding alternative sources of energy is, that's obviously going to cost a lot of money. And if investors or companies are not going to see a profit margin for it, they're going to be more reluctant to throw the dollars towards it. Then you have perhaps the biggest culprits of why nothing has been done, and it's the money in politics. You have the big oil, OPEC. They don't want us to find alternative sources of energy, fuel. They want us to use it until we dry it up. So fossil fuels are gone. They stand to lose everything, especially if they're not ahead of the game and decide to invest in alternative fuel beforehand, which I think that they should. That to me that makes sense. But I don't really know what's going on with those companies. So you have these lobbyists, or so you have the scientists will say, 97% of them, mind you, will say, okay, climate change is a thing, it's happening, we need to do something about it. And then you have these, gas companies, oil companies, they'll hire their own scientists, and they'll say, oh no, this is, we can't conclusively show that this is man-made. And originally they were denying the phenomena altogether. And that, obviously is going to lend some validity to their position. And then the way the media portrays it, they make it seem like it's 50-50. So the regular person who's not scientifically literate is just gonna be confused as to which side to take. And if there's a lack of if they believe that there's a lack of evidence for something, then most people are not gonna just, I would think most reasonable people are not gonna default to the position where there's no evidence for. So the 3% of climate scientists that disagree with the position, most of them I'm sure are the ones that are hired by. So you have people who obviously are biased. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them, so they're going to say what they say. So they lobby to the government, as special interests, and for the most part they're winning. The big money wins almost every time in this country. So when you have that kind of cycle that goes on and on and on, then we're going to have what we have, and that's essentially inaction. And it's been going on like this for decades. We've known about this for decades, and we've really dropped the ball. Scientists have recently, some scientists say that we're in a 6th mass extinction. We've had 5 previous ones in Earth's history, and we are pretty much in the 6th one now. And a lot of it is due to us, human beings. It's really, really sad. So what can be done about it? What can be done about climate change? I mean, it's all well and good to sit here and complain and say, oh yeah, we know this, but we have to have some kind of plan, some kind of course of action that we can initiate to actually reverse the trend, or at least try to preserve the one planet that we have. So a few weeks ago, G7, there was a G7 summit, and basically that's some of the world's biggest superpowers get together and they discuss things, and they discuss the environment, and they came to this consensus that they're gonna make they're pretty much banning the use of fossil fuels by the year 2100. And I think that's first of all, I think it's kind of symbolic right now. I think that they think that that's when fossil fuels are going to run out. I mean, I don't know what the world store of fossil fuels is, but it takes a long time to produce just a little bit of petroleum. It takes a long time for that natural process to occur. But I think it is a positive first step. It's drawing a line in the sand and it's saying, hey, we're not going to go past this point. I don't know what kind of enforcement will be attached to that, but I definitely think it's a start. There were some engineers in the United States who actually went above and beyond that, and specifically for this country, and for every single state, all 50 states, they actually created a plan to have the infrastructure totally converted with alternative energy by 2050. Each state now has their own specialized, personalized plan to get the infrastructure in the right direction. And I think that's awesome. That's 50 years ahead of the curve. That'll be within my lifetime, hopefully. And 2050 is obviously way just way sooner than 2100. That's 50 less years of damage that we're doing to the atmosphere, or just to the planet, as a whole. So there's also some research being done by several companies. We have Audi, who has come up with 2 alternative sources of fuel that use plants. One is a diesel version, and it's not ethanol. A lot of people will think about ethanol. It's actually not ethanol, and they're still tinkering around with it, but I think that's also a great first step. You have a company now, a for-profit company that's being ahead of the game, and they're also doing something right by the earth at the same time. I mean, and it's not like it's to me it shouldn't be, and I think to most people it shouldn't be some noble deed to do something like this. It's just common sense. If you want to preserve the species, our species, I mean, it doesn't even have to be. You don't even have to care about, you know, the bees and, you know, the polar bears, the rhinos, and just about anything else that's not a human being, or animals that adapt to, you know, urban life, like pigeons. But you shouldn't have to. It doesn't even have to be about that. It's just, this is the only planet that we have, and even if it wasn't the only planet that we had, if we still burned fossil fuels over there, it probably would destroy that planet too. So also Elon Musk, he's a genius. He has his own batteries that he's using, that he's tinkering with, that can now store more energy. And that's been a big problem with alternative energy, is that they haven't been able to store, like solar panels are not gonna store the energy like that. So when you have a tank of gas, that's, you know, that's storing it. So that's been one of the biggest complaints of alternative energy, is that it's just not very efficient. So now that we're improving the efficiency of it, all it's going to take is some money and some research to go into it, and we'll find a way. I don't think that that's an excuse. I don't think the expense or the difficulty of the task is an excuse when the planet is at stake. You know, your children, my children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, for all the generations to come. We don't want to be another generation that just kicks the can down the road and says, well, this is not my problem, this is your problem. My generation, you know, is doing something about it now, but I think that we need to do more. So basically that's basically what I wanted to talk about in a nutshell. There's still people who deny this, who deny that this phenomenon even exists, and I just want to bring some kind of light to the issue, because it's very important to me as a voter in the United States. The environment is actually the #1 issue to me. You know, it takes higher priority than the economy. It takes higher priority than any kind of foreign policy, domestic policy of any kind. I don't care as much about social issues. And those issues are important, don't get me wrong, but if we don't have an environment to live in, or if our children don't have an environment to live in, and the government of this country at least is cutting funding for science and discovery, and, you know, we won't find another planet because of the slash to that funding, then I feel like we definitely need to take care of the one that we have. Let's find a way to stymie the encroachment of these temperatures. Let's stop this, and possibly reverse it if we can. It only makes sense to me. Even if climate change was a hoax, some, you know, left-wing conspiracy scientist hoax or whatever, don't you think that it's just better for the environment, you know, to have cleaner air, cleaner water, cleaner soil, stuff that we use to grow our food, the stuff that we use to breathe, the stuff that we drink? It just makes more sense to me. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and to receive all the notifications and updates on the activity of my channel, subscribe to the channel. As always, guys, have a good day. Grizzly Bear signing out.